Can we start?
We read your mind, Kim. We're good to go. So, good morning, everybody. Thanks for jumping on. Appreciate it. Hope everybody's having a good week. Crazy markets everywhere. We're seeing a lot of things happen here in the springs. Things are multiple offers starting to happen, and anyway, there's still fear out there with all the stuff going on, whatever. But we're pushing past a lot of that, and I don't know. Rates came down again, which is nice. So, anyway, this crazy business that we're in. But it's good to see everybody. Tuesdays, every Tuesday, if you're with us from another company, we this is primarily EXP, but it's open to everybody. So we don't talk EXP, we don't pitch EXP. It's just a value add, something we're doing for all of our group. If you can, just a couple of housekeeping things. Turn on your cameras if you can. Participate with us. The more participation, the better. Mute yourself if you're in a noisy place. I'm getting some noise there from somebody. But if you just know that we'll hear everything in the background. If you got a phone ringing or you're talking to somebody behind you or whatever, we will hear it. So just be mindful of that. If you're in a quiet room or something, go ahead and leave your mic on. But Jason K is back for the second week. This is part 2 of something he did last week. Now, if you missed last week, the recording is available on our website, freedomteamsupport.com. You can go in there and find it. You can also go to the workplace group if you're part of EXP and see all the recordings from all these Tuesday masterminds. They're all recorded in there as well. So then you can also find it on the Freedom Team YouTube page, which we're ramping up that as well. So anyway, a lot going on, but Jason is a certified coach with Success. Success Magazine, if you guys know that, big thing, been around for years, decades and decades. He's certified with them. He's also one of the trainers here at EXP and, has a big background in engineering, 35 patents. Jason's got some unique things going on. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you, Jason, to carry on from part 2,
All right, great.
Making buyers owners quickly. I like it. So let's get going. I appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
All right, let's get that screen share up and running. All right, there we go. All right, so thank you, Jeff, for that intro. Yeah, I am a success coach. I am also an EXP University instructor, licensed realtor here in Colorado. I have taught this class for the last 3.5 years. This is a deeper dive into half that class. The first part of this class was given last week, and right now I'm up to 36 of my last 38 buyer sides I have taken out once and gotten that client under contract. My last client is a repeat client. I love those. Definitely stay in contact with your past clients because you never know when they're thinking about upsizing or buying an investment property.
Or downsizing.
So that impressive 36 of the last 38 buyer sides, that includes abrupt shifts in the last 36 months, as well as all the craziness that's happening in the market today. So I'm going to deep dive just one of the 4 key critical areas on how to do that, because this is a learned skill. So quick question, unmute yourself for a second and shout out. How many people were here last week? Just say here.
Here.
Right, quite a few. Cool, love it. Thank you. All right, so you guys got part of what we did last week, and that was disc training. And I want to harp on this because I started out last week with an intention that you guys were going to get better. How many of did you actually imagine that you had already taken this training and your conversion ratios have increased? Let's see if I can actually see everyone. There we go. So for those of you that have your cameras on, raise your hand. How many people did that exercise? No one. Really? Wow. Okay. That's a little disappointing because a lot of what you do, you can create yourself. If you're in a bad mood and want to stay there, you'll stay there. If you don't want to be in that bad mood, you can actually change your physiology, meaning get up and walk around, or change your mental state on your own and make yourself happier. This is stuff I'm learning in my NLP class right now, going through it again. Anyway, as I've said, this is a learned talent, not a gift. Those of you that were here last week, you remember what my first sale was? It was a really good sale. It was 1.65 million. but it took me 9 months to get that client under contract. And I took them out and showed them 127 homes. The entire inventory turned over twice. So they knew the inventory as well as I did. Now, if you do the math on that, the number of hours I spent on that client, I made less than minimum wage. I would have been better off working at McDonald's flipping burgers. I made less than $5 an hour. My last deal, where I took my client out once, I'm probably set to close, I'm guessing about $500 an hour once they actually close. Who would rather make $5 an hour? Raise your hand. Really, Alex? You want to make $5 an hour? All right, who wants to make $500 an hour? Yeah, okay. Now, you see where this is going, right? You need to learn certain skills. So last week, Kathy asked me to start here with the disc. And that's a perfect lead in for going through my buyer consult because I never do the same thing twice. I customize it based on the disc profile, based on their behavioral profile. I tailor it to my clients, their preferred learning methods. Are they auditory? Do they need to hear something? Are they visual? Do they need to see it? Are they kinesthetic? Do they need to actually go out and do it? Or are they auditory digital, which is systems based? Specifically, she asked how I determine someone's disc. The first thing I notice is, how are they speaking? Are they fast or deliberate? Are they thinking between sentences? Are they using lots of words, or are they using very specific words very precisely? Are they using words like I feel, or the process, or I can see that, or I hear you? This isn't just disc, but also the preferred communication method. I listen to how they are answering my questions, like the general one. Tell me about what home you're looking for. So what I want you to do is guess the disc for the person that answers this question this way. Hey, I want a 3-2 on 1,800 square feet and at least 1/10 of an acre. Who wants to guess what type of disc profile that is? All right, go for it.
D.
Yes, it's a very high D. It could also be a C. It could be a combo. It could be a DC, but this person is very short and to the point. All right. How would we change this so more of an SC would answer it?
Someone's asking more about specific details. They want numbers, how many bedrooms, bathrooms. They want to know the recent sold, average price, stuff like that.
Yep. Well, a lot of times they'll have actually gone in on Zillow and looked up what average prices were in other homes. And they'll go something along the lines of, I want at least 3 beds, no more than 4. I want at least 2.5 baths. One's got to be on the main floor, at least 1-car garage with a storage area, preferably a 2-car garage that we can add an ADU above. It's very specific. It's a bit wordy. You might think that's an I, but they're sort of giving you very specific details on what they're looking for and an idea of where they're going. Now, I'm going to read another one, and you guys guess what type of person this is going to be. All right. Hey, I'm looking for a bright, airy home with good flow and a fireplace and a nice sunny patch I can grow my garden and a big deck I can have some friends over and watch the sunset. Anyone want to guess what that is?
Aye.
Yeah. And it's probably an SI, an IS, or maybe an IC, but definitely that supporter type of person, someone who's there, who likes other people and wants to help other people. Who wants to guess what this one is? Oh my God, I really want to be close to downtown so I can walk to all the restaurants, the bars, the music venues, stroll around Pearl Street in the evening, people watch, maybe catch one of the performers.
BI.
Oh, that's just straight I, off the chart I. Maybe a trailing S, but yeah, that's an I. So the whole point is these disc profiles can also have downsides. Those Ds and Cs can be extremely stubborn. and have a really, really strong stubborn streak that you'll have to overcome. The S's and the C's, well, we already know what their downside is: analysis paralysis. Just bury them in data. Those I's, squirrel, what? Every single shiny object, getting them to focus will seem like an impossible task. But knowing that, you know what their pros are and what some of the challenges are, you can work around it. So the whole point is it's not just one question that I ask, it's cumulative of how they answer, which of course perfectly leads into the next part. So that is doing, of course, a killer buyer consult. This is the rest of the class. I'm actually going to go through my whole buyer consult package with you. Write this down. There's 2 key points here. The first one is not to give information, but to set the buyer's expectations through information. It's a very subtle difference, and you'll see what that does later on. The next point is frame questions to give information. Specifically, if they author it, they own it. That's the first thing I learned as a coach. So don't make statements, ask questions that give them the information, like, hey, the jobs report just dropped and inflation's super high. What do you think the Fed's going to do? Well, probably raise interest rates. Okay. What do you think that's going to do to mortgage rates? Well, they're probably going to go up. Yeah, they probably are. And just so you know, while they dropped last week a 0.5 point, they've already jumped up a 0.5 point this morning. I checked. What do you think that just did for the clients? They're the ones that said rates are going to go up, and you just confirmed it. So what do you think they're going to do? Do you think interest rates are going to continue to rise? Inflation's still going up. What do you think that's going to do for their motivation if they're thinking they want to buy sometime within the next 3 months?
It may cause them to make a quicker decision.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's one reason why I do that. Because my goal is to not make them make a fast decision they're going to regret. My goal is to give them information that helps them make a decision. And by that, it may be, hey, it might be cheaper and you might get more home if you purchase sooner than later. And, you know, as a side effect, I'm kind of okay with that. So it's also so much easier for a client to believe you and hear you when you say, do you remember when? Then try to convince them that those nerves while they're making an offer or after making an offer is normal and that they shouldn't withdraw it, or that the other side is moving as fast as they can with those inspection issues and getting contractors in. How many people remember me talking about role play last week? All right, I'm seeing some hands. Cool. Guess what? You need to role play this as well. The more you do this, the better it becomes, the more ingrained it becomes, and it just flows naturally and sounds like a conversation, which is kind of what you want. So there is a role play group out there. It's 9 a.m. on Pacific time, Thursdays with Phil Hahn. Why am I saying this? Don't think you need to role play? My wife, Trisha's sister, who's been in the silly industry for 35 plus years, did a role play with Phil Hahn yesterday. It's still needed. She still does it. She still practices. She tries new things when old things stop working. So that kind of gives you an idea how important role play is. I can't stress this enough. So if someone won't spend an hour with you to learn what the process is that they're going to be going through, it's only going to make it harder. This is a question I ask myself every time. Do you even want to work with that person who's going to fight you every step of the way and drain you so you miss that listing appointment? Me personally, I'd rather refer them out, get 25% and have them out of my hair. Wait, hair, yeah. Anyway, so the whole point is I typically take 60 to 90 minutes on the buyer consult. The last one I did, which was 2 days ago, I did in about 30 minutes. Well, why so quickly? Well, he's a repeat client. They already know. My last 2 clients were repeats. Makes life really easy, but I still go through the buyer consult with them. The last one I did, it was 4 years ago. You guys remember what you did 4 years ago? Anyone? Yeah, me neither. I don't even remember what I had for dinner last night. But that's kind of the point. So I actually send it ahead of time. I'm going to actually stop my screen share and show you what I actually send. So here's my whole desktop. This is my window. So you can see here, I actually have broken out. Buyers and listings are separate on what I send out. So here's my buyer. I don't send out the COVID advisory anymore. But if I haven't spoken to the client, I definitely send out an example of the exclusive right to buy, otherwise known as the buyer agency agreement.
I don't see your screen. I see you.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me click that. There we go. How's
Thank
this now?
Thank you.
Thank you for catching that. I appreciate it. So exclusive right to buy, I send that out usually before I get to this point. Sometimes I send it out with the buyer success package, the wire fraud advisory, the ABA. This is all the stuff that we need to send out. I even send them out an example contract because, hey, the last one, I actually had an 18-page contract. He's now 19. So yes, stuff's changed. But that's kind of the whole point, is I send it out. I ask, hey, have you read the buyer consult? No? Hey, it's all good. We'll go over it. Yes? Hey, it's all good. I just want to highlight a few key items and answer your questions. By the way, what does that say about their disc? Come on, take a guess. If they've read it, they're going to have a high compliance. They followed instructions. So that means, what are they going to likely be high in?
C.
Yes, absolutely. So this is how I start to glean how someone's going to respond. Are they a first-time buyer versus a seasoned pro? Hey, have you ever bought in Colorado before? No? Okay, it's different. When I was selling in New Jersey and I had New Yorkers from New York City come in, I knew the process was going to be exactly backwards. I got surprised with my first client. Then I actually called the broker in New York and went, hey, can you walk me through what the process looks like? Because, I know it's different than Jersey. They're like, oh yeah. And in New York, you sign the contract at closing. In New Jersey and in Colorado, if you don't sign the contract, you're not making an offer. And that's law in both states. So knowing that difference, knowing where your buyers are coming from and what their expectations are, critical. This is when you set those expectations. So let me actually go back to stop sharing my whole screen and just share the presentation. All right, presentation's up. Everyone sees it? Nod? Cool, excellent. All right, so I mentioned my last client. It was almost 4 years ago. It was about 3.5 years ago. He bought. Contract was 18 pages. Here in Colorado, I know we're getting a new contract or other addendums that are changing every January. And in most Julys, there's updates to fix the oopses. So I ask them, or I'll tell them point blank, because I know when they last bought, hey, contracts changed. Here's the new one. We'll go over some of those changes if you want. So actually, let me go switch back to this because I want to go back to the slides for 1 second. There we go. Here's my nice subtle slide. So as I said, I send an example contract, the buyer agency agreement. I even send definitions of working relationships, which is required in New Jersey, but isn't here in Colorado, because I reference it and then I pull it back out later. I send everything to them, including the buyer consult package, which is what you guys just saw. So take out a pen, write this down. This is one of the most powerful scripts that I use with clients. I tell them and make sure that they know they have to sign the buyer's agency in order to hire me. That literally is my script. It is extremely powerful. And it depends on the conversation that I'm having with the clients when I pull out the buyer agency agreement and go through it with them. I typically will take clients out once, especially if they're hesitant, and almost definitely those hesitant clients are going to be some sort of SCs, those engineers, those accountants, those numbers people, or possibly the kinesthetic learners. Because, well, the SC is a scaredy cat. They just met you. They don't know yet if they can trust you or if you really know your stuff. Where's the data that you really know your collective stuff? Is it number of solds that you've done, number of homes you've shown, number of clients you've helped? There's a reason why real estate agents are looked upon with the same respect as litigation attorneys and used car salesmen. You know, those kinesthetic learners, they need to do it to learn it. So I will actually take them out, those SCs, those kinesthetic learners, I take them out once. And when we're going to the house, I go, you are not going to buy this house. This is not a showing. This is you learning how the system works, what the process is going to look like. And that's why I don't consider it a showing. And I tell them, you're not buying this house. Only once have I had someone go, I really like the house. Can I buy it? It was really kind of cute. Anyway, going back to the disc, since I speak disc and engineered, I mean, they're just another language, kind of like Italian and German. But that's the point of the disc. Those SCs, those accountants, those engineers, they need the data. So give it to them. Someone mentioned last solds, comps, school data. I just bury it on them. The school data I get from another source, great grades, US News and World Reports. For those SCs, I give them multiple links. I don't give out crime stats unless asked, and I've only been asked once. You've heard me say this before. I frame everything in a positive light. I use it's all good versus no worries, which is a double negative. Why? Well, very simple. It has everything to do with the subconscious. And the subconscious is basically an okay button. It doesn't understand negatives, which is why in my affirmations, I say, I don't want to lose 15 pounds because it just says 15 pounds and I end up gaining it. But my affirmation actually states, I am happy and joyful that I weigh 185 pounds. If we have time, I'll get more into the affirmations. So let me go jump back to the actual screen share of my presentation. All right. So getting back to this, I'm actually going to go through the whole presentation at this point with you guys, how I actually do it with the client. So at this point, I'm going to need a volunteer. Who wants to be the buyer? Jeff, you're smiling. I'll make you the buyer.
Okay.
Give me a little bit of history about you. What type of person are you? What do you do for work, Jeff?
Gosh, I got to make all this up here.
Yep.
Why don't you pick on one of these guys here that, you know, I'm on here all the time.
I've done this with Alex. All right. Who wants to volunteer? Zachary, you've been good. You want to be the buyer?
Sure.
Okay. So give me a little hint. What do you do for work, Zachary?
I'm a lawyer, healthcare, and do health law.
Health law. Wow. Okay, cool.
I'm giving you a recent buyer's profile.
Perfect. I love that. Okay, so health law. So Zachary, thanks so much for sitting down with me. Did you get the email I sent with all the attachments?
I did.
Okay. Did you get a chance to read everything?
Yes, I did. I went over, all of it.
Fantastic. So greatly appreciate that. I just want to highlight a few key items and answer your questions. How does that sound?
Very good.
All right, cool. So we're going to skip over all this good stuff. And actually, I'm going to change my view so it's single page. There we go. Since you've already read this, I'm not going to go through this with you again. What I do want to do is take a couple seconds on this slide. So I know you've read it. I'm not going to read it to you. The main thing I want you to get from this is that I've got your back. Mostly here, I have a fiduciary duty written into the law to be a real estate agent, which means I have to treat your money better than my own. Now, typically I work from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 days a week. I take 1 day a week off. Is that okay with you?
Yep, that's great.
All right, cool. I will always get back to you within 24 hours via email, text. I typically won't respond or pick up the phone if I've had one drink, so I'll get back to you the next day because, well, drunk texting is bad. Is that all right?
I appreciate that.
Cool. The other thing I want to let you know is I know you've been following the inventory. You've been on drip searches for a while now. You know, there's not a lot out there, and what is out there is going pretty quick. So typically I only show between 5 to 8 homes before someone decides which home to buy. Does that sound good to you?
It sounds pretty good. I'm a little dubious of that, but
Okay.
if you,
I'll be happy, you'll see later on in here that I've got lots of clients. I'll be happy to give you their numbers if you want to call them. Most of my clients see even fewer homes though, to be honest, because what we do is we go through in such a rigorous way that you'll actually know exactly what you're looking for. And when you find it, you'll know this is the home. Does that sound good?
okay, yep, it does.
Awesome. The only thing I ask in return is, since we only get paid at closing, is that you work with me exclusively unless you're outside of my area. Now, you're just looking in the greater Boulder area right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're not working with any other agents because I don't want to step on anybody's toes.
No.
Okay, cool, great. All right, now I'm going to pause for a second because there are a couple of key things I want to highlight for y'all there. The first one is my script. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. You might remember that from the LP Mama. You might notice I dropped in that I'm only showing 5 to 8 homes before they decide to buy. And they usually will even buy sooner than that. In most cases, for me, it's between 2 to 4 homes.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned the LP Mama. Did they
Mhm.
fill out the LP Mama before they received this?
I typically fill it out while I have a conversation with them.
So before you send them all of this, or
Yep.
after?
Yep. So the way this works is I have a lead that comes in. I have a phone call. I pull up my LP Mama. Look, I have one on my desk. And it's a conversation. I fill it out. That helps me set up the search, and I drip on them. Usually at the end of the phone call with the LP Mama, I set the appointment for the buyer consult.
Got it. Okay.
So when I set that appointment for the buyer consult, I send out all the forms. I send out this package. I send out everything that they see. Make sense? Cool. All right, I'm going to keep going on. All right. So Zach, I know you bought a house 3 years ago. I just want to go through this process to refresh with you. I know that you're you could be a cash buyer, but you're going to be financing. You're reusing the same lender as last time, or have you picked a new lender this time?
We have a pre-approval with the same one, but I'm still shopping rate.
Okay, cool. Completely understand that because I've seen the rates bounce around, different lenders doing different things. Just to let you know, last week, Monday, I was negotiating a contract for a client. Rates dropped 0.5 point. They came down from 7 to 6.5%, which means they were able to go up $5,000 without costing them any more on their offer. Now, bad news is jobs data just came out this morning, and it's good, which means it's not good. So the Fed's going to increase the rates. What do you think that's going to do to mortgage rates since the Fed's increasing the rate?
Well, they'll probably go up again.
Yep. And since inflation's been sticky and job report is still really good, do you think they're going to keep increasing rates or decrease rates at this point?
If the job report is good, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it just depends, but probably not continue to increase the rate if the job report is good.
Okay, so if if the job reports, meaning there's a lot of people that are employed, and the Fed is trying to reduce the number of employment and cool the market.
All right. Well, if inflation's still an issue, they might continue to raise the rate.
Okay. So this morning I read jobs report was good. Rates jumped up 0.5 point. And I'm hearing in the news cycle that they're probably mortgage rates are going to be between 7 to 8% and stay there for a couple of years. So I know you're thinking of buying within the next 6 months or so, but my question to you is, if the right home comes out right now, would you probably buy it now at a lower rate or wait for the rates to go up?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to wait if it's going to cost me more in the long run.
Okay, cool. And Alex, thank you for posting the LP Mama. Really appreciate that. By the way, I will post the PDF of this in the chat at the end, so don't disappear when the class is over. So Zach, going back to this, we've already talked about your home search criteria. You're getting those searches in, right?
Yep.
Okay. So we're up to step 3, which is finding your home. Most people think that once you find the home, that's it. That's the job of the realtor is done. But as you can see, there's another 10 steps below it. So I know you bought a home recently. I'm just going to skip through this real fast, but there's a couple of key points I want to highlight. As you know, in Colorado, we need to make all offers in written form, and that's the contract that I sent over. I'm not an attorney like you are. I don't play one on TV. So I really can't change the contract very much. If you have an issue with it, since you're an attorney, you could probably draft your own contract. However, I typically use the state standard contract. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. So once you find your home, we make an offer on the contract. We negotiate back and forth, update the contract with final terms, and now we're under contract. 3 things typically kick off right at that point in time. The first one is you need to get your earnest money in within 72 hours, typically. The second one, if you haven't done a full mortgage application already, you need to do it by then. Since you're getting a loan, but you have cash to cover, what I'll typically ask for is a proof of funds letter, either from your CPA or financial advisor, or just give me a screenshot of, or a copy of an account with your account number blanked off, showing that you have enough funds. This way you don't need to do the full approval, or honestly, my suggestion, do it ahead of time because there's a lot going on at this point. Also, what happens is we get the HOA docs typically within those first couple of days. So there's a lot going on. The last piece is we need to schedule inspections, which then takes us to 8. As you remember, we typically only go after major items at this point, major structural, safety, or systems in the house, basically the big ticket items that cost a ton. Because if you have a whole bunch of little things, typically the owner will pick 2 or 3 of the little things and leave the one big one. Now, I'll get into a lot more detail with what home inspections look like just before it goes on. But typically you'll hear a home inspector say, hey, listen, by the way, this water heater is beyond life expectancy. As long as it's not leaking or still making hot water, same thing with the furnace, we typically can't ask for it. If the windows are old single pane windows and historic, we typically can't ask for them to be upgraded. Even the pesky bathroom window that's painted shut, it's not really a safety issue. Yet if it needs a new roof, we'll definitely be asking for that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So the deadline for inspection objections, that actually is us getting in, having the inspection, and then making requests based on it. So we need to have enough time to do it. And typically those requests are either credits we get at closing, or we ask for something to be fixed. And we can negotiate what that looks like and talk about it once that occurs. Does this sound good?
Yep.
All right. Typically about a week or 2 before closing, we get the mortgage appraisal in and the commitment. About a week before closing, your lender will typically ask you for your homeowner's insurance. The day of, we typically will do the final walkthrough unless closing's first thing in the morning, and then we might do it the evening before. Here in Colorado, if the home is owner occupied, typically the owners request 3 days after closing to move out. If the home is vacant, we're going to get it right at closing. Does that make sense?
Sure. Different
Okay.
from where I come from, but you got it.
Yeah, it's a little bit different here. So the last step is closing. I hope you have a nice rested signing hand, because it will take about a half hour to sign all the pages for the mortgage. And then you get to pack your life into little brown boxes and move in. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Perfect. All right. So
I
this
have a
next,
question. I have a question. And
Go
I've
ahead.
been raising my hand and it keeps going away and I don't know why. Attorneys are typically would be a CS stock, if you will, and you mentioned you can draw up your own contract.
the attorney can.
I mean, isn't that like opening up a can of worms? Because what if they want to just drop in all this arbitrary stuff that might be important to them, but it's not important to anybody else, or even have relevance for that matter?
I give them the option to do it. I have yet to have an attorney take me up on it for
Okay.
one reason and one reason only. He's a healthcare attorney. He is not a real estate attorney. So
Mhm.
he knows he doesn't know what's going on here. And if he says he wants to do it, I'll ask him specifically, do you have experience in real estate law?
Yeah.
And if
Okay.
he says no, it's like, well, do you really want to go down that rabbit hole and make a mistake?
Right. No, that's
Or potentially lose the house.
yeah, I was just confused a little. I personally would not even open that door, but that's, I get it. Okay.
That's fine. I've done it before and I've never had anyone take me up on it, because if they're a real estate attorney, I've actually never sold the real estate attorney a home. But any other attorney, they don't want to touch it. It's not worth their time. If the form's already existing, just give me the form, I'll look it over. I don't have any objections, good to go. Or if they have objections, I go, this is a state standard form, I can't change it. And they're like, okay. I'm like, the other side has to use it too. They're like, okay. They may ask to put something in additional provisions, but I've never had that happen. Sound good? All right. So moving on, house hunting guidelines. Typically, this is where I bring out the buyer agency, because what I'm doing is I go through the process. So Zach, I know you're looking online because everyone looks online. If you see any website or any home for sale online, let me know. I'll be more than happy to show it to you. Same goes with for sale by owners. Also, very important, when you go to open houses, make sure you let the agent know that you're already working with me. This does two things. The first one is it prevents you from getting bombarded with emails from that agent saying, hey, please work with me. The second is that agent will reach out to me for feedback and I can tell them yay or nay. And if you are interested, I can get you more info. Does that sound good?
Yep. Very good. Love that.
Okay. Now, the main reason why I do this is, you remember when I said that I only get paid at closing earlier? That's specifically where this comes from. So at this point, what I typically do is I will actually open up my buyer consult. Let me get that. Okay, and put this up here. And let me share screen to this. All right, so y'all see the exclusive right to buy contract?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So typically, as we're talking about how you hire me and how I get paid, I just want this to be completely transparent. As you scroll down here, the most important thing is the section 7. My success fee is 2.8%. The good news is 99 times out of 100, the seller pays my success fee, but you get my expertise. Now, it's up to you on whether or not you want to see a home that is listed at less than 2.8%. Most important line is, of course, not checked right here, but is this one, 7.3. What that says is I will get 2.8%. If you see something less than 2.8% and want to buy it, you'll need to make up the difference. The good news is usually we can negotiate that difference off the sales price. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay, great. I also want to let you know that you can cancel this contract at any time if you're displeased with me. Hopefully, we have a conversation beforehand so we never get there, but I will release you after written notification if you want to cancel this. All right?
Okay. Sounds
All right.
good.
Cool. What I do at this point in time is I will typically take out a pen if I'm meeting in person, put it on the paper and slide it over to them and be quiet and let the silence do the heavy lifting. If they're in SC, I don't even bother. If they're hesitant, I will literally take the paper with a pen on it, slide it back over me and pick it up off the table and put it back into my computer bag. I literally am taking it off the table for them. They can no longer hire me. Really powerful. Lately, I've been doing these via Zoom. If they say, yeah, no problem, I already have this set up in DigiSign through SkySlope and shoot it right out to them right after the call. So going back to that buyer consult again. All right, so I got the green box. So moving on, since I've already done a deal with Zach, he already knows my responsibilities, and I'll tell him point blank, hey, you already know this. And I just want to take a second here with you, Zach. You know, I'm sure you remember last time, these 30 days, that's really closer to zero. Our inventory about 2 weeks ago has gotten a little bit better than it has previously. You know, during COVID, our lows were about 50 homes, 52 homes for sale at any point in time. A hot seller's market's about 600 homes for sale. 2 weeks ago, we were at about 92. We're up to 140 homes for sale this week. When I looked yesterday, we were at 144. What do you think that means for the homes that are out there?
Oh, there's probably higher demand.
Yep. Yep. And we're starting to see multiple offers right now, 6 to 9, again, for the good homes, which of course you're looking for the good home, the updated home, you know, priced well. The good news is we're not going a lot over asking yet, but this can shift. And with the recent jump in interest rates, I'm expecting the market to change. How? I'm not entirely certain yet because we're still inventory constrained. But you're likely going to hear me contradict myself if we're in this process for more than a couple of weeks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. This bottom chart, all it shows is the lower the price for the home, the more people that are interested in it. So if it's a really good price, there's going to be a lot of people interested in it, and we're going to get a lot of offers. If the home is overpriced, the top of the triangle, fewer people will be interested, which means we'll get it discounted and potentially even get it for below market value. How's that sound, getting a deal on an overpriced home where you pay less than if it was underpriced?
Sounds like a 1 in a million shot.
It does happen. It is rare. Not many people are overpricing their homes these days. So I will give you that. You know, we've worked together. You already know how great we are. You already know that I'm absolutely fantastic at negotiations. I really appreciate the glowing review that you gave for me, highlighting that last time. Just want to reiterate, if you want to get to the closing table, I will get you there. Very, very rarely, under very rare circumstances, will we not ever get there. And that's more than I can say for most agents in this area, because depending on how you slice and dice it, average closing rate, according to our local board, is between 60 to 80%. So we've already done the estimated costs here. You know, we're going to be towards, you're controlling your own mortgage fees. You know, we're going to be in the $1,000 to $1,500 area for your inspection. You've already done the rest of this, so I'm going to skip over it. You've already met our team. and by the way, guys, if you're brand new or no one's on your team, like my lovely wife, you can have your broker, your mentor, you can have your title rep, your favorite lenders in here. Sarah is a part-time VA we haven't used in probably about 4 years now, I'm guessing, maybe 5, but she's still on the slide because, well, we're actually probably going to reach out to her or someone to do some VA work for us. But you get the point. You're not alone in this. You could even put your brokers down here. You can put the Freedom Team members, ask them first. So you get the idea. This I'll actually tell my clients, hey, you've already read the propaganda. You've helped create some of it. Greatly appreciate it. Let's jump down to next steps. So this is where if they haven't signed, I ask them to sign again. If it's Zoom call like this, I'll say, I'll send this out to you for signatures. Zach's already pre-approved, which is great. So we're going for there. We've already talked about proof of funds letter, so I'm not going to harp on that again. I may ask, is this search criteria still relevant, especially if it's been a couple of months from when I had the first call and now he's getting active. I almost never talk about this slide. So that in a nutshell is my entire buyer consult. And here, let me go drop it into the chat box for you all.
Do you happen to have it in a Word?
I do not have it in Word. It's actually Google Slides.
Okay,
We're happy to share it.
thank you. Yeah, that says I want to steal it, so.
By all means, I have stolen so many pieces of this from various people over the years. I actually have a slide. I'll go back to the one and done. Let's see. Let's go back to this guy real fast. Here we go. I'll share this with you. I just want to highlight this for you guys. All right, so Jeff probably recognizes the light blue piece on this slide because I got it from him. This is maybe a year old. If I've got someone who really wants to get deep into numbers, I'll go deep in the numbers during the buyer consult, where I'll actually go through and show the difference. So remember my last client I talked about? They're both engineers, but they're not your typical engineer. They're more entrepreneurial. But we went through, the rates dropped 0.5 point. That means their purchasing power increased. So we increased the offer and their monthly payment was less than $1 difference. That's how we got the deal together. So the way that works is, hey, this extra $10,000 on your loan will only cost you $2.10 at today's rates. That's assuming 6.5%. By the way, that was $1.40 at 3%. So, I'll go back and continue asking my clients, what can you buy for $2.10 a day? If I know they have a Starbucks habit, especially if I've met them there and they tell me that this is their 3rd one today, I'll ask them, hey, when we get to the point of negotiations, and if there's 9 offers, $25,000 extra, that'll set you back your 1 cup of Starbucks a day. It's $5.26. How powerful do you think that is to somebody, where they can all of a sudden see where that extra money is coming from, assuming they qualify for it? Now, you could flip this the other way. In this example that's up here, oh my God, it's too expensive to buy. Rates were at 3%. Now they're at 6.5%. Well, when rates were at 3%, everyone and their sister was making offers and we were going 50,000 over. So that $450,000 home was selling for 500,000. A month ago, you were able to pick up that $450,000 home for 4.25. By the way, right now, even though we're getting multiple offers in some homes, if the homes stick around for more than a week, you remember that chart that I showed with the, bell curve that tapered off? If you're out there for more than a week, we're not making an asking price offer. So you're going to be at that lower price. So at 4.5% versus 6.5%, your monthly payment is almost identical. So very, very powerful stuff here. Now, I've been talking an awful lot. What questions do you guys have? No
Well,
question.
I do have a question. I'm sorry I'm being so vocal,
No,
but
no. Go for it, Paul. That's why
so
we're doing this.
one of the things that I used to also point out, I mean, at least back in the let's say the good old days, which was last year, is that the fact that the Seattle market, our home values, especially the Snoqualmie Valley where I live, were increasing by 16% per year. And so when the people were balking about putting down extra, pulling some of their, maybe a little bit of their stocks in order to make this work, because we had to pull stuff out of our, in order to deal, because we were battling everybody. But that was the thing that I was literally helping. I would say, look, it may go away it'll go away for a year, take that 16% and add that, because you're going to get your equity back in a year. And that's, that's kind of where I was just curious if you ever build in the whole equity conversation.
Absolutely. Right now, I don't, because Boulder's getting about 2 to 3% appreciation annually. Last year, up until April, we were double digits. So the client that I just got under contract, repeat client, she got referred to me, and Trisha's going to smile at the story. I was making dinner. My hands were full of chicken. My phone rang. I just looked at her and went, "Can you please answer it?" And she's picking up the phone and she's going, "You want to buy a house? Okay. You know the house you want to buy. Okay. You're referred from David?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, David, engineer." I had that exact conversation with him. The reason why I bring them up is David was talking to Kendra and going, "Oh my God, I've been following my home appreciation on HomeBot," which by the way is free.
I love it. I use it. Yep.
So you know
awesome.
exactly how it works. It sends out, "Hey, your home has appreciated this amount since you bought it." And in 6 months, he felt he overpaid. We had the conversation on, at the rate of appreciation, this amount that you're overpaying to get the home, if you wait that long, you're going to be paying even more for it. So he's watching his home appreciate, and he's talking it up to Kendra on how great I was on getting him to pay over ask, yet still get the home, because we were multiple bids. And she called me up and goes, "I want to make an offer on this house." Now, that does not happen very often. That was COVID insanity. Loved it, because when it happened, it's like, here's a client ready to go. Now, Kendra didn't get the first house that I showed her. She got the second house, and I never showed her the home. She was 4 hours away, and they went, "Oh my God, do we have to drive through the snowstorm to go see the house?" I go, "No, you can make an offer on the home sight and scene, but I highly recommend you go see it before closing, and definitely recommend you go to the inspection." And they went, "Okay." So how's that for showing a client one home, writing 2 offers and getting them under contract in the height of COVID insanity? So yeah, it does work. I don't do it anymore because of where our market is. Will I do it again? Yeah, I absolutely will. Great question, by the way.
Perfect.
All right, since we have 5 minutes left, I'm throwing this up here because this goes back to what I mentioned, and if we had some leftover time. That's my bathroom. That's me actually taking a picture of myself in the mirror, and that page that's hanging up there, that's my affirmations. My coach, Russo, who helped me first understand how to write affirmations, really put it poignantly. And get out a pen, piece of paper, write down the rules on what you need to do. Because as I said, what you're doing with your affirmations is you're talking to your subconscious, and you're turning your subconscious on in order to look for things. So the subconscious can process up to 7 million bits of data a second. That's an awful lot. It seriously overwhelms the brain, which I think is maybe a couple thousand, maybe a couple hundred, but you get the idea. So what you're doing is you're training your subconscious to look for the opportunities. Your subconscious doesn't understand negatives, so you have to talk in positives, and you have to talk like it already happened in present tense. So my top affirmation is, I am a magnet for many easy and lucrative deals. Another one is, I am happy and joyful that I weigh 185 pounds. Now, I don't weigh 185 pounds. I'm closer to 199, 198. But the whole point is, I've written it as if it has already occurred, and I'm happy about it. So the trick here is when you're writing your affirmations, now that you know the basic formula, what do you want to have happen? What are you happy that has already occurred? Are you happy you have $1 million in your bank? Are you happy and grateful that you have 25 frontline qualifying agents that are giving you passive income? By the way, I have both of those on my list. So for me, I like to read my affirmations. Every time I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth, I'm reading the affirmations. Some people need to write it down. Some people need to say it out loud. That goes back to what type of learner are you? So super powerful stuff here. Does that help?
Good stuff.
That
See
is
nods.
helpful.
Cool.
Can I mention one thing, Jason?
Please.
I used to write my affirmations in a spiral bound notebook right before bed.
Mhm.
And it was a really good method of putting them in my head and basically falling asleep with them in my head and getting up nice and strong. I think one of the things I haven't done this in a while, but I think I used to actually write, I will sleep and I will dream and I will wake up energized, refreshed, and we'll have a strong day, that type of thing.
Yep.
It worked. I thought that was very helpful.
Absolutely does. I practice Italian before bed for the same very reason. Helps stick it a little bit better. Alex is shaking his head no. Never said I was very good at Italian. All right, what else?
You can also record your affirmations
Yep.
and play them at night while you're asleep so that your subliminal will get it.
Wow, that's powerful. I like that one.
Yeah. There's also a lot of subliminal messages on YouTube that you can play psalms and scriptures at night while you're sleeping.
Cool. So we've got 2 minutes left in class. What questions do you guys have?
I did have one question about not stepping on anybody's toes. I tend to also ask, besides, are you working with any other agents already? Is have you signed anything
Yes.
with an agent? Because sometimes they forget, oh yeah, I signed something. Well, let's take a look at it because they might still be obligated to the agent.
Yep. Absolutely. Depending on the client, I will also ask if they're looking in other areas. Now, mind you, I did rush through that because I had about 40 minutes or so to do the consult, and I usually do 60. And that's part of the reasons why I presumed and made the role play where he was a past client, because that allowed me and gave me permission to skip ahead and skip over certain things. Most attorneys, I probably would talk a little bit slower than I did. Again, trying to get into rapport. Most attorneys are very thoughtful and will pause between words, considering their choice of words. So for high Ds and high Is,
Impossible.
it can be infuriating. So what I was trying to do there, and I was not doing it very well, was how a lot of these people will actually communicate. In many cases, I find engineers tend to be verbose because they're actually considering everything that they want. So that's why it's at least 3 bedrooms, preferably for like the ADU for the additional income, all that little detaily stuff. So excellent.
Can I make one quick comment just in regards to what Dave just said? Because I'll always ask people if they're working with an agent, and many times buyers will say, oh yeah, I'm working with so-and-so. And then I ask them, have you signed anything with them? Well, no, we haven't signed anything. So I just, at that point, I know they're still fair game. I can still have the opportunity to win them over. Back in the early days, you're working with somebody, oh, okay, thanks, and just click, you're done. But I
Yep.
learned like they're still open to people. So kind of just the opposite, you know, a little bit in terms of the terminology or the order there is what Dave said. Don't just assume they've signed on with somebody because so many haven't. So many
Right.
agents don't get the buyer agency,
Yep,
you know?
it's very true.
So
You'd
it's
be
just something to be, they
out
might
here.
say they're working with somebody, but
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean, in Washington State group, they talk all the time how so rarely some of these, you know, old salts, if you will, they never used a buyer's agency agreement.
Yeah.
And personally, if I don't have that great feeling, you know, or even their verbal, I love you and I'm going to work with you. I'm going to say, look, we really got to take care of this. You know, this is what my brokerage asks us to do for every single client. Then just build it in and make it automatic. Because like I said, you know, especially here in Washington State, they just changed the commission. Now the commission is completely 100% transparent, and they can actually. I know that it's always been that you can negotiate it, but out here it's almost as if you've got to dot every I and cross every T in order to get that commission. So you got to write it into everything. It's really kind of strange. And Washington State's kind of back, you know that. Everybody.
Colorado, you actually have to have the buyer agency agreement signed before you can show them anything or talk about or set up showings. Most
Wow.
people don't. Most people actually get it signed the day they get the contract signed. I do know if you've ever been audited in Colorado, they highlight this, that's one of the first things they check. Now, during COVID, I had a client call me and tell me they wanted to make an offer. So I made sure they signed the buyer agency before they signed the contract.
Yep.
But at that point in time, it's like, what are you going to do? But that is something that they check. New Jersey also, you have to have a buyer agency signed, and almost no one ever did. Trish, you've got a question or comment.
I actually have a comment. Jason joined my team about 10 years ago, and I've been selling real estate for about 25 before that. And I always had some angst in me when I was addressing, are you working with somebody else? How do I get paid? I did it, but it was a little tough. And I have to say that I taught Jason everything I knew, and then he took it to the next level. Right. And what he's done is to be able to say, out of curiosity, you know, whatever the question is, right? Or I don't, you know, I need to know, out of curiosity, are you working with someone else? Because I don't want to step on any toes. That really softens that. And I also noticed he goes to buyer agency agreement and he doesn't waffle. He goes right to the paragraph 7 where it says how he's going to get paid. And if he does it with gentleness, but conviction, and that transfers to the client and to give them the confidence that he knows what he's doing and he is going to take care of them. He's not going to waffle when it's time for him to negotiate for them.
So why only 2.8%? That I forgot to ask that question. Why only 2.8? Why not just go for the? I always go straight 6 when we're doing listing agreements and straight 3 when we're doing, and then I let them know that if it's listed for less, then I will accept that amount. But you know, I mean, I need 3.
You absolutely can. If you look in the MLS in the Boulder area, 99% of all buyer sides are 2.8. That's why I put that in there.
Oh, okay. It's
different in different
2.5
areas.
around here. Yeah, it's starting to be 2.5. One of the top listing brokers here in my neighborhood, she's already sold like, I don't know, 16 houses this year, you know, already. And I mean, that was like by February, you know, and
Right.
she's always 2.5, you know, showing that her buyer commission. So my guess is she's going 5% flat. So
Everyone can do, you know, whatever, right?
And keep in mind, you can put 3% in your buyer agency, and even though they're only paying 2.5, you're still entitled to your 3.
Yep.
Right.
You know, and if you guys
make up the point too.
Exactly. And just, you know, we're never dictated by what the MLS says. You know, so many people just fall over. Well, that's what I get. That's what I get on that one, you know, or 1.5 even, or whatever, all these different commissions. If you want to go back, Aaron Ken did a training for us, you know, how to get your full commission every time. It's a great recording. It's in there. It's probably good to redo that one actually, because it's happening so much right now with this kind of shift in the market. It'd be good to re-hit that again, but just know that recording is in there. How he's done that, and able to get his, full commission no matter what the MLS says. Just know that you're not dictated as a buyer agent. You're not dictated as to what you're going to get paid by what they're paying on the other side.
My old
Very-
broker,
very true.
my first managing broker with EXP used to say all the time that people, well, is your commission negotiable? And he'd say, of course it's negotiable. You can always pay me more. And that
When
just
I'm
kind
asked
of
that
diffuses
question, I
everything.
go, yes, my commission's negotiable. It is 2.8% if you want to hire me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and keep in mind, guys, cost is a factor in the absence of value. When you show them, like, again, Jason, that's the power of doing a presentation like that. When you lay out all the things that we're going to do for you, and this is why I'm getting paid this amount, and they
Mhm.
won't balk at it.
Right.
It's like when there's no value there, then they wonder, why am I paying this money? What am I getting for it? Because their perception of realtors is, again, we found the house, it's a done deal, whatever. And your job is done. Our job is just beginning. And when you lay all that out, here's all the things I'm going to be doing for you. Here's all the ways we're going to be corresponding. Here's all the conversations I'm going to be having with the inspector and the title company and the lender and the da-da-da-da and all this stuff to get you to the closing table. When all that's spelled out, they'll happily pay the fees.
It's funny
Mhm.
because my last listing, the guy was like leading up, and it seemed like he was going to balk. And he's like, so what's your commission? And I went 6%. And he goes, oh, okay. And I was just like, that
Yeah.
was easy.
I had several years back in the day where I did a 7% on the listing side. I'd get 4, the other agent would get 3.
Wow.
And I never had an issue with it because of all the different, we had all these guarantees in place. We had all these things that we were doing. And, I'd be the last one in. They'd already met with the discount broker. They'd already met with people doing the 6%. Whatever. I come in with the 7 and I get them to sign it every time.
Did you ever get any pushback from the buyer's agents on your listings that would, they look at the auto settlement statement and go, hey, what the hell?
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten that call?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Well, that's between you and your client. This is me and my client.
I've done it the other side where I get the 2.8% and the listing agent has 1 1/4, 1 1/8.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen that. Yeah. I've never seen more until I got explained. Fact is, oh, well, I built in all the staging and they agreed to that and this, that, and the other. So it basically what he did is he kind of gave them a loan for all the staging and everything else. And then he got it back at closing, which makes total sense. I mean, normally I just pay for the staging, but I mean, that wouldn't be if it's like a, $1.5 million home, you got about $3,500 in staging costs.
Well, let's wrap it up. Jason, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, guys. This recording, I know somebody asked in the chat, I don't have it open right now, but they asked, this recording will be available. It'll be in the workplace group probably within the next hour. It'll be on the Freedom Team YouTube page and on Freedom Team support as well. So you can find the recording there. The PDF, we'll get that uploaded as well so people can see that and download that, and however you want to use that, that'll be fine. Just a reminder, part 4 of Stephanie Gilizon's short sales class is tomorrow. That's the last one of that. Same time, same Zoom link. You can invite people to that, whatever. All those recordings are available as well. So some good stuff. Kim, anything else I need to mention that off top of my head here or off top of your head? Am I missing anything? I don't think so. I think we're good.
Nope.
So
We're
cool.
good.
Guys, we'll see you back here next week. Aaron Ken actually is doing the training next week. We got a whole different thing he's doing. Big agent down there in Texas. So anyway, It's going to be good. Guys, have a great week. Jason, thank you so much. Great
Thanks,
stuff.
Jeff. Appreciate it.
Have a great
Bye
day,
now.
guys. Bye-bye.